Maintaining biodiversity. So the increase in the human population, the waste we produce, deforestation, peat bog destruction and global warming are all reducing biodiversity, and conservation can help to reverse this. And conservation is the preservation of ecosystems and the organisms that live within them. Scientists and concerned members of the public help maintain biodiversity by breeding programs to help preserve endangered species like the panda, protection and development of new endangered habitats, often by making national parks, replanting hedgerows because there is higher biodiversity in them than the fields they surround, reducing deforestation and the release of greenhouse gases, recycling rather than dumping waste in landfill sites. So what does biodiversity actually mean? Well, bio means biological organisms, living organisms, and diversity is the variety. So it's the variety of living things, or the variation of biological organisms. So there are threats to biodiversity, and these can be use the acronym HIPPO. So H stands for habitat destruction, I stands for invading species, P stands for population increase, the other P is pollution, and O is overexploitation. So genetic diversity. Genetic diversity is the range of genetic differences between organisms within a species, and that is known as genetic diversity. It's important for the survival of individual populations that the genetic diversity of all organisms is maintained. If the organisms aren't genetically diverse, they are especially at risk to a change in the environment. You might be at risk if a new predator arises or a new disease comes that could just wipe them all out, and it could kill all the organisms, resulting in extinctions. Without genetic diversity, there is little or no evolution. Scientists are very worried about the rate at which humans are destroying habitats like rainforests. By destroying habitats, we are making it much harder for organisms to survive, but we are also reducing their genetic diversity, which might mean bigger problems in the longer term. Scientists keep genetic materials in gene banks to help maintain genetic diversity. These gene banks commonly store the seeds of plants and cryogenically freeze the sperm and ova of animals. Some animals, such as these pandas, are now only present in such small numbers that it is a struggle to maintain their genetic diversity. Protection programs. It's important that biodiversity is maintained at a high enough level to make sure that ecosystems are stable. In some areas, programs have been set up by concerned citizens and scientists to minimise damage by human activities to ecosystems and biodiversity. Breeding programs have been set up to help prevent endangered species from becoming extinct. These are where animals are bred in captivity to make sure the species survives if it dies out in the wild. Individuals can sometimes be released into the wild to boost or re-establish a population. Programs to protect and regenerate rare habitats like mangroves, heathland and coral reefs. Protecting these habitats helps to protect the species that live there, preserving the ecosystem and biodiversity in that area. Reintroducing hedgerows and field margins on fields around farms where only a single type of crop is grown. Field margins are areas of land around the edges of fields where wildflowers and grasses are left to grow. Hedgerows and field margins provide a habitat for a wider variety of organisms that could survive in a single crop habitat. So in summary, biodiversity is the variation of biological organisms. Habitat destruction, invading species, population increase, overexploitation and pollution can reduce biodiversity. Genetic diversity is the range of genetic differences between organisms within a species. A change to the environment, a new predator, a new disease could kill all the organisms, resulting in extinctions. Destroying habitats like the rainforest makes it much harder for organisms to survive. Scientists can help maintain genetic diversity by keeping gene banks, seed banks, and cryogenically freezing the sperm and ova of animals.